How's it going, my RWBY friends? The Neo theory of her being a maiden is looking more and more possible, but to be honest, that's not saying too much because it's still a very loose theory, still a bit of a potato theory, but there are some loose ends that actually do tie it together and make it possible, which I will go over in this video. Some of those connections are brand new as of literally about an hour ago when it was showed on RWBY Rewind. What is RWBY Rewind? Well, let me explain. You see, every week RWBY Rewind shows on roosterteeth.com for first members at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. They do some behind the scenes stuff. It's pretty awesome. Today they had Lindsay, the voice of RWBY, on there, asked her some questions. It's all around a good time. And then near the end of the show, they give us a preview of the next chapter of RWBY, which in this case would be Volume 6, Chapter 7. Now, with all that said, we can get into the breakdown and discussion of this preview because there wasn't a lot of dialogue in this preview, but what there was very important, very significant, and the entire scenery was also very important and significant. So, what exactly am I talking about? I will explain right now. The preview opens. The RWBY Rewind preview opens in the vault of the Spring Maiden, down below Haven Academy. We're back there again, guys. Cinder seems to have taken Neo to that vault, and Neo is seen examining the door to the vault, which is somehow now sealed, which I find strange because it was implied that they couldn't really seal the relics without the associated maiden, which in this case would be Raven, sealing it. What we know for sure is that you need each associated maiden to open the door to the vault, but they didn't really say you can't seal it without that maiden's help. It was just that the community seemed to assume that was the case because, like I said, it was implied. Because if they could have just sealed the relic back in Haven, why would they need to go through all this trouble and risk taking it to Atlas where they can't really seal it the same way Oz did because there's only one vault there? And you need the Winter Maiden to open that. Who knows who she is exactly. But the point is, it's kind of implied that they're just taking it to Atlas just to protect it because Atlas is really the best, most protected area that they can get to right now. Obviously, Vacchio's out of the question. They can't really keep it in Mistral because the vault was open, but apparently you can seal it or it seals itself. And then, you know, Vale is still kind of chaotic right now. So really, Atlas is the best place, even though Atlas has a lot of problems as well. But really, the most interesting thing is that the vault can be sealed again without the help of a maiden. How exactly does that work? We don't know. We really don't know. We can just theorize on it, guys. If you have theories on this, let me know in the comments below. Of course, there's still a lot to talk about regarding this chapter, but this is the first really important thing that we need to take note of because this is actually like huge information. It really is. If they could have just sealed the vault without Raven's help, why the heck did they take the relic from Haven to begin with? Honestly, Yang probably should have just left it in there. Raven at that point didn't even really care that much. Like, she was just leaving. She just didn't want to carry the relic around because it would put an even bigger target on her back. So if the relic is sealed up, seems like a better idea. I mean, it kind of makes sense for Raven to want Yang to have the relic because then the target is on Yang's back somewhat. But Raven is still a maiden, and Salem still wants the maiden's powers. So it's not like Raven just doesn't have a target on her back anymore. I think sealing it probably would have been the best choice, but it's just odd that nobody mentioned this or anything. Like, I'm trying to make sense of this, and I can't really make good sense of it. Perhaps there's a timer. The vault only stays open for a certain amount of time, and then it reseals itself. But if that was the case, Ozpin would know about that, and you think he would have said, okay, like right when Yang brought the relic out, instead of we need to get the relic to Atlas before he passed out, he would have just said, like, put the relic back, and that would have been that. So very strange set of circumstances here, guys. Very strange indeed. But let's move on for now. Cinder then goes on to tell Neo, and here's where the only dialogue occurs. Obviously, you have only one character here that can actually speak. The other is mute, so there's going to be limited dialogue. But even that said, the dialogue that we got is very important. So here are Cinder's words. To Neo, now you understand. I've got to get the relic before it can be secured in Atlas. It's the only way Salem... Then there's a pause. It's the only way we can accomplish our goal. You're not the only one who wants RWBY dead, but unfortunately, Salem does not feel the same way. So, there's a lot to be said about that one. I mean, first off, it's implying that Salem doesn't want RWBY dead, and it was already implied way back in Volume 4 that Salem wanted RWBY captured and not dead from Tyrion. When Tyrion was all happy about being able to be sent after RWBY, and then Salem went on to, again, they used the pause there. It was like, pause, and then Salem said to Tyrion, and bring her back to me. Then Tyrion was all like, aww. So, Salem wants RWBY for herself. Back in Volume 4, I kind of assumed Salem just wanted Tyrion to bring Ruby back to the base because she wanted Cinder to get her revenge. Perhaps Cinder would torture Ruby and then kill her off herself or something like that. But this is definitely making it seem almost like Salem has her own plan for Ruby. It's very interesting. That could be any number of things, and I'm sure all of them are bad for Ruby. Perhaps she's trying to harness the Silver Eyes for herself, or perhaps Salem wants to test the Silver Eyes in some way. Perhaps Salem has Summer caught, so she thinks it would be fitting to also have Ruby caught. Like, that would be a pretty big jab at Ozpin. Any number of things, really, although those seem like some of the most likely theories that I can come up with off the top of my head for why Salem would want Ruby alive. It's just a very interesting way that Cinder worded this all, right? Now you understand. I've got to get the relic before it can be secured in Atlas. It's the only way it's the only way we can accomplish our goal. You're not the only one who wants Ruby dead, but unfortunately, Salem does not feel the same way. Very, very interesting indeed. The other big thing here that surprises me a lot is the fact that Cinder actually trusted Neo enough to bring her all the way to the Vault of the Spring Maiden. Granted, all the way is not that far, but there is some weird stuff going on with the time frame here. I mean, keep in mind, after Cinder lost the fight against Raven at Haven, there was a 1 month time skip from then until like her first meeting with Little Miss Malachite. We know that because as Cinder was walking through Mistral, there was a poster in the background that had Hazel, Cinder, Mercury, and Emerald on it. And it said last seen, and Adam. And it said last seen 1 month ago. So what exactly was Cinder doing over the course of that 1 month? Was she just sleeping and resting because she lost so bad? Was she part of it traveling? But it must not take that long to travel if Cinder just brought Neo back there already. I mean, if it took a long time for Cinder to bring Neo to the Vault of the Spring Maiden, I would imagine that is time that she would rather use going, to stop Team RWBY and Ozpin and Crow from bringing the relic to Atlas, considering that that is her mission right now, and that's very much a time constraint mission, especially since Team RWBY has already left and has already boarded the train to Argus. Like, they are very much ahead. So how is Cinder thinking she's going to travel this quick? I don't get it. RWBY already confirmed, like, she already knows. That's what I mean here. We already know more than Cinder knows, obviously. But all Cinder knows so far is that they're on a train to Argus. And here Cinder is still in Haven, just kind of fooling around. Now, granted, we the viewer know that the time frame is kind of weird right now. For example, it was 1 month since Haven when Cinder was meeting Little Miss Malachite chapters ago. But it's only been 2 weeks for Team RWBY, Ozpin, and Crow. And, I'm kind of leaving Maria out of this because it just complicates things more, the timeline. If I bring her up now, it wouldn't fit because I'm talking about them being at the station. So it was 2 weeks since the Haven fight that Team RWBY and Co. actually, left and began this journey. So the Cinder arc is 2 weeks ahead of that. But they're showing us, the viewer, the events simultaneously. So we just have to keep in mind that the Cinder stuff is technically 2 weeks after the RWBY stuff that was going on. So at any point, we could sort of just have Cinder catch up, I guess, and the time frame would kind of start to make more sense because the characters would physically be together now. Once, if Cinder and Neo do indeed catch up to Team RWBY, that would correct this weird timeline thing because then they'd have to be in the same time together. It's still very weird and kind of difficult to think about because if they're 2 weeks in the past and Team RWBY already has this start, then it's kind of complicated. But the point is, Cinder's really got to hurry because this is a huge gap in time and a huge gap in distance and all that. Luckily for Cinder, the train derailed, so that's setting Team RWBY back a lot. That's really the only way that Cinder and Neo are going to have any chance at stopping Team RWBY from getting there, the fact that the train derailed. Although, how are they exactly going to find them now? That's going to present a whole other issue, honestly. On that same note, with Team RWBY moving along, hopefully Crow snaps out of this soon. I know he was hungover and everything, but he could probably go bird mode and fly around and scout out where to go next. So I'm not too worried about Team RWBY finding the course again, assuming Crow actually does that. Even RWBY can technically fly to an extent, as we've seen in the Volume 4 character short. So she could also scout out. Friggin' Blake could also use Gamble Shroud, and also they're just really good at jumping. Blake jumped super high in the Sea Dragon fight. I mean, what's stopping her from literally just jumping all the way up, either to a tree or literally just jumping, and looking around? There's any number of ways that some I haven't even mentioned yet For example, Weiss could use a one of her summons maybe and send it out or something. We don't know exactly how Weiss's vision correlates to the summon vision, but the point is there's any number of ways Team RWBY and Co could literally just like scout out the area to kind of get an idea for where they should go. Crow seeming to be the most useful with his bird form. But, I mean, that's kind of besides the point. This is more so about the RWBY Rewind. Not more so. This is a video about the RWBY Rewind stuff. It does correlate to the other stuff a bit. That's why we sidetracked. But, so it's interesting that Cinder sees so much value in bringing Neo with her to try to get the relic. You know, Cinder's pretty powerful, but she was doing the stuff all by herself. And she was a bit scared already, like kind of jumpy and whatnot. But I'm sure she's scared about what Salem might do to her. But she also is shown now to be like I don't want to say doubting herself to get the mission done, but like I said earlier, she is literally taking precious time to explain this all to Neo, to show Neo the vault, to tell Neo information that's like crucial and pivotal information that you probably like want to only tell people you trust, right? That's why Ozpin's so secretive with it. That's why Salem doesn't just tell the world about it. And it's interesting that Cinder is so openly telling Neo, someone who was just about to try to kill her, like not long before this, like crucial stuff about the maidens and the relics. So that's why I want to come back to the Neo being a maiden thing. I still think it's like a potato theory, a crack theory, but there is some weight to it. I know Chibi's not canon. I know, guys, it's not canon. And they pretty much just do stuff in Chibi to mess with people. That aside, just for the sake of a fun factor, Neo... they made, I forget, one of the episodes, they were making like a snowman, and they made it like a Neo snowman. The eyes were like Neo's, and it was basically like referencing Neo, and it was like a snowman, and that's like, why would a snowman reference Neo? Winter Maiden? I don't know. Very much a stretch, like I said, a potato theory, and it's Chibi, but just a little like fun trivia thing. I'm not saying that brings any weight to the theory at all, for the record. I'm just saying that's kind of like a fun little thing there. But if Neo is a maiden and she didn't know how to use a vault, now she knows what the vault is. Now she knows what a relic is. So it's just interesting that they would take the time, the writing, the freaking CRWBY and all them would take the time to have Cinder backtrack in her mission to show Neo this stuff when it's really not a good idea. From a writing standpoint, if Neo's a maiden, this actually does bring merit to her doing that, just because now Neo would know more about how being a maiden, you know, relates to the relics and what the relics are and all this. So I would say it brings a little bit more weight to the crackpot Neo theory of being a maiden, just because now Neo has enough information to really know how important maidens are. And that was never something that Neo really knew about or seemed to care about. I shouldn't say care about, but it's more so something the writers never really cared about telling her because it wasn't relevant. So why is it suddenly relevant from a writing standpoint? Besides the fact that Cinder wants to use Neo's help, even if Cinder wanted to use Neo's help to get the relic back, she wouldn't even need to tell her all that. I mean, literally, Neo already agreed with you to go track down RWBY. That's all that really Neo needs to know. I don't know why Cinder is telling her all this extra stuff. Like I said, it's not going to change the fact that they're both going to RWBY's area to try to, you know, Cinder wants to get the relic and kill RWBY, and Neo just wants to kill Cinder, really. Like, by all means, I don't think Cinder really just wants... I don't think Neo wants to kill RWBY, honestly. Maybe she does a little bit, but she really just wants to kill Cinder. So, that's just where I'm thinking. I know a lot of you guys agree with me on that one. Like, Neo obviously didn't just change. Like, that would be stupid. Like, Neo wanted to kill Cinder. She went to Cinder. She tracked her down. She fought her. She wouldn't just back down just like that because Cinder was like, you know, we should kill RWBY instead. And Neo's not just like, oh, okay. No, Neo is playing Cinder, dude. She's playing Cinder, waiting for the opportune time. Just like when Neo ran from Raven. She wanted to kill Yang, but Raven showed up. And you know what? Neo even did not even get hit in that fight. She blocked easily both of Raven's attacks, and Raven launched a surprise attack on her. Why? Because she probably realized it would just be like a risk she didn't need. You know, Neo is a criminal. She's kind of like an assassin character. You don't just take fights like that for no reason. If Neo had any, like, if Neo realized that she might lose to Raven, she would still run away. It's not, like, when people say Neo was scared of Raven, they put it a lot of time in context that was like, oh, Neo thought she was just going to get wrecked by Raven. But that doesn't mean, Neo being afraid to fight Raven does not mean that she thought she was going to get wrecked. It could just mean that she didn't think it was worth it. The potential injury and potential fatality of her fighting Raven was just not worth it at the time. She still had Roman. She loved Roman. Why risk fighting Raven even if she thought she could win, if she thought maybe there's a chance that she could lose, when she just really wants to be by Roman's side? By all means, Neo loves fighting, and she loves, you know, she's sadistic. She loves killing people, but she loves Roman more than that, so she left. You know, I'm just saying, you know, Neo's a beast, and I wouldn't say she didn't think she had any chance of beating Raven. considering that Raven launched a completely surprise attack on her while she was wide open. Neo was literally just standing there with the blade up. Like, she was completely open. She was completely open for attack. Raven appeared out of nowhere, surprised her, and was super quick about it. And Neo still had time to figure out what's going on and parry both attacks and get away. So, by all means, Neo was not that one-sided, guys. Raven didn't get a hit in, Neo didn't get a hit in, and Raven's the one who launched the jump attack on Neo. So, that's all I'm saying about that. Let me check through. I have like 4 bullet points of notes here. You guys know how I am. I don't write scripts. That stuff's annoying to me. But I do put bullet points sometimes to keep the train of thought. So let's see. We talked about the Neo Maiden theory. We talked about how Cinder went pretty far telling Neo about the Maidens, the relics in Salem. We talked about how it's kind of funny and ironic that Cinder seems to find such advantage in using Neo's help. Just kind of interesting and weird, right? I mean, we know that Neo's a beast, but it is interesting how Cinder is like bringing Neo on board so hardcore when she could still just have the RWBY thing going on, and that would still bring her to help indirectly, you know what I mean? And then it's implied that Salem doesn't want RWBY dead. We already talked about all those potential reasons why, and that would really do it for this rewind, guys. So all in all, keep in mind it was a 20-second rewind preview, and we've got about 17 minutes of content here talking about theories and stuff. So I think any further amount of content I record right now will be rambling, and I don't think I've really rambled at this point. I think everything's been pretty concise, so I'm gonna wrap this up here, guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and don't forget to leave your thoughts down below. I've been checking comments very actively and actively replying to all you guys, or trying to reply to all you guys at least. I spend like an hour or two every day just replying to comments. It's sometimes more too, because it's like an hour or two I'll definitely be replying to comments, but then when I'm editing something, I'll also be replying here and there as well. So leave your comments below. I'll try to get to them. And with that said, guys, if you enjoyed this content and want to do more to support the channel, even besides just hitting the like button, subscribing, and turning on the notification bell, by all means, consider donating either one time through Streamlabs, link down below, or sponsor on Patreon, link down below there as well. You'll get access to my reactions up to a week early, as well as other cool bonuses depending on the tier that you pick. Links to both those down below, guys. With that said, I will now be ending this RWBY update, and I will catch you next time.